Hi, I'm Michelle and welcome to Unicorn Centaur. Today's video is about what to do after you fall off your horse. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you already know that I fell off my horse this week. Yes, it was Artax. I'm okay and Artax is okay. It was one that was kind of ridiculous and I feel dumb because he just startled at something that's always been there, but it just came into his sight and he decided to jump 2 feet sideways and I just kind of gently tumbled off the side and thumped on the ground. So I got right back on, I was riding him again, and not 2 minutes later he stumbled, went down to his knees. I see the ground coming up at me again and I had enough time to think, oh God, not again. He caught his balance again by throwing his head back as hard as he could. Now whose face was right behind his head? So when he threw his head back, I caught the back of his head square in my face. You can still see the other day it was more swollen and it was swollen over here and I had a bruise under here as well, but he like smacked me right in the face. My whole head rattled. So after that I just walked around for like 5 minutes pretending I was okay and then we were done. This all got me thinking, I've never done a video on what to do when you fall. So here we are. Disclaimer, I am not a healthcare professional of any kind and I am not qualified to give you medical advice. Nothing in this video is meant to diagnose or treat injuries you may personally have sustained after a fall. As a matter of fact, if you just fell off your horse and then immediately went to YouTube to look up a video on what to do after you fall, you should definitely click away right now and call emergency services instead. You are not okay. Having said that, here's my advice on how to handle falling off your horse. This is in the first few minutes after the fall. It's time for triage. You first. I know it's hard, but do not worry about your horse for just a few seconds. Take stock of your injuries as quickly as possible. It's okay to cry while you're doing this. At least I hope it's okay to cry while you're doing this. First thing is your head. Did you hit it? Do you have vision problems? How many fingers am I holding up? Also feel for broken bones, as this is possible. Keep in mind, adrenaline may dull your pain at first, so be careful with your body and take a moment after the fall to breathe and center yourself in your pain. If you're relatively okay, now you can go check on your horse. First of all, where did he go? If this happened at a show, hopefully he just trotted around in circles until some helpful barn rat went and caught him for you. If you're at home, you'll probably find him either at the gate to his paddock or at his stall or wherever he usually gets fed. Sometimes you get a horse who will come back for you after you fall. I had one when I was 12. My horse, every time I'd come off of him, he'd come back, trot back and check. You okay? Not all horses do this, so do not take it personally if your horse pieces out without you. If your fall included your horse, like if your horse fell too, you're gonna want to check him for injuries. Is he limping or favoring any leg? Check his mouth in case he stepped on the reins. Feel along his body and watch for any pain reactions. Look for any abrasions or swelling. In short, you're looking for anything that would make you call the vet. So now that you've taken stock of yours and your horse's injuries, it's time to make a decision. The conventional wisdom that you've always heard is get back on the horse. And yes, you have to do this. Once a horse learns that getting you off his back means the workout is over and he gets to go back to the paddock and have treats, it's over for you. They have brains the size of a walnut, but they remember the important stuff. So yes, get back on the horse is true, but only to a point. If you have a broken bone, if you have hit your head hard enough to see stars, if all the people around you are looking at you terrified and insisting you go to the ER, then guess what? You get to go to the emergency room. Serious injuries are possible when riding horses, and sometimes you need a doctor to stitch you back together so you can ride again in the future. If you have to go to the hospital, and yes, I am talking to you specifically, follow the doctor's orders. I know you don't want to. I don't either. But you have to listen to the doctor. The doctor is going to tell you you can't ride for a little while and you're not going to like it. You're going to be tempted to ride before you are allowed to. Don't do it. Your horse will still be there when your broken bone heals or your knee surgery's over or your new helmet comes in the mail. Follow doctor's orders. Now, if the fall wasn't that bad and you got back on your horse and finished your ride like a goddamn cowgirl, even if you cried, this is why we wear waterproof mascara to the barn, y'all, then it's time to take care of your busted up body. The first day, you are coming down off your adrenaline rush. So as each hour passes, you're gonna hurt more and more. And in places you didn't even know were injured at first. Your first 24 hours should be RICE therapy, R-I-C-E. RICE stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Rest means do not walk around and do a bunch of chores. Do not go run errands. Rest means rest. Go home. Take a nap. Get off your feet. Your body needs you to be still for a while so it can repair some stuff. Ice is to put ice on the parts that hurt or swell. This is important because you didn't get to ice these injuries right away. You had to get back on your horse and go ride for a little bit, so you didn't get to put the ice packs right on there. But it's still important. When you get home, get out your ice packs and put ice on the injuries. Compression means that if one of your joints is swollen, wrapping it in a support sleeve of some kind or like an ACE bandage can help alleviate pain and swelling. And elevation means to get the injured part raised up to improve the flow of blood and lymph as you're healing. Rest, ice, compression, and elevation, you don't want to do them constantly. You want to take breaks from them. Ice for a little while, take a break. Compression for a little while, take a break. Elevate for a little while, take a break. All throughout your first day, take care of yourself. In addition to RICE therapy, you can use NSAIDs like ibuprofen or acetaminophen. These reduce inflammation and pain, which is helpful after you've fallen off a horse. In this first day after a fall, it's a good idea to look at your schedule and see what you can take off the table. Can you take a day off work? Put your workouts on hold for a day or so? Delegate any difficult tasks or chores? You may feel dumb for doing this, especially if it was an easy fall, but hitting the ground is harder on your body than you want it to be. So don't be afraid to take the time to let your body heal. Day 2 is when the real aches start setting in. Keep resting as much as possible, pop those Tylenol, stay hydrated, and be nice to yourself. Day 2 is also when you can discover that your injuries are more extensive than you originally realized. After that adrenaline rush wears off and everything starts to settle and you're like, why does my arm hurt? I fell on this side. Keep treating these injuries as you find them. Don't be a hero and try to walk it off. Listen to your body and take as many days or even weeks to heal up as you need to. I'm not big on helmet shaming where people jump on others who are posting pictures of themselves on horseback without a helmet on, but I am a big advocate of wearing helmets. I have several helmets and I wear one every time I ride, except my only exception is when I film my Centaur of Attention videos. And even then, usually I have someone on the ground helping me, holding my horse for safety reasons. Whenever you fall off a horse, your helmet needs to be replaced. Your helmet should be replaced every few years anyway, whether you fall or not. Once you crack it against something, you need to get a new one. Helmets that have sustained serious impacts are not as effective at protecting your noggin against future injuries. So now I need a new helmet, because the one I was wearing definitely made contact with the ground and then with the back of Artax's head. Everyone falls. Everyone, yes, everyone. Olympic athletes, top-ranked riders, multi-million-dollar show winners, everyone falls. Don't beat yourself up because you fell off your horse. All falling means is that you rode past the edges of your riding ability and couldn't quite pull it off. It's okay. Sometimes learning is painful. Also, don't beat yourself up if you can't get back on your horse yet. Anxiety is real, y'all. Falling is mental and physical trauma. And you are not alone if you can't ride for a while after a fall. I see you. You are still an equestrian, and you are not the first to face this fight. Take heart and keep breathing. A special thank you to my Patreon supporters who are the wind beneath my wings. If you want to join the Patreon crew who gets their names in the credits of all of my videos, there is a link in the description box below. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of my video. The fact that you're still here gives me all the special feels, and I hope you have a magical day. They didn't have my teal shade, so it's this electric blue. And I did not intend for this eyeshadow to be so aggressive on camera. Wow. This is what we get today. Hi.